John, I think you're on mute.
There we go. I'm better. Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks, Janelle. I hope this is really informative. I mean, we're really excited about this because, this is the first time in a very long time that, our federal government has realized that not only do we need road infrastructure, which we've put a lot of money into over the last 50 or 75 years, but COVID has taught us that we need a whole new technology infrastructure that supports, a different way of learning and working and other things that come along with that, including smart cities. So I'm really, really close to this. I work with a group of people around the country that really are focused on these types of projects, this money, how it's going to work. And I really hope today I can explain, at a high level what this program is all about. So you can go the next time. We are going to be offering, a two-part webinar. Today is kind of an overview of the program and the opportunities. And the second one, I believe, if I'm correctly, is really how to execute and structure programs and operations, around these concepts. Go to the next one. A little bit about me. I am one of the co-founders, and I am the CIO of Big. I started the company with Scott Dolmich, who is our CEO, almost 30 years ago. I have over 30 years in the IT industry. Actually, it's probably closer to 40 at this point in time. I am a certified Cisco business architecture analyst, which really helps me in these types of situations and to talk about these topics. I'm a very active CIO and part of the company. I spend a lot of time in the field with my folks, understanding the technologies that we're bringing to the table. I've done over 100 plus wireless projects over my career. And I actually am an avid offshore fisherman, diver, and surfer. And I'm actually presenting to you from Brazil today. Surfing is amazing here. Hopefully, they will open up the beaches again and we were allowed to surf maybe this weekend. So go ahead, next slide. I really want to start out with, it's a key message as part of this webinar. Our mission at Big is to really become an extension of our client's business as a trusted advisor, not just a technology partner or somebody you buy products and services through. It really is a lot more to that. And it's really a focus on these webinars is, we're out to help our clients improve operational productivity, create a competitive advantage, and really enable a business transformation. And that's a key statement now because we really are at a transformation point of becoming a much more digital social group and world, both nationally in the United States and globally. So we're excited with this project that we're going to talk about today and this program because it is going to enable true transformation. I mean, COVID has forced us to transform as a society into something that we really should have done a very long time. I tell people, things, telework and video conferencing and all kinds of stuff, it didn't come about because Zoom became popular during COVID. We've had those technologies for a very, very long time. But COVID has forced us as a society to really adopt these things and make use of technology to not only improve our lifestyles, but to improve our society in general, to, decrease um, decrease our excuse me, decrease our use of motor vehicles and travel when we really shouldn't. And we all find out that, we can now work remotely and we can attend conferences without having to go pack hotels. So I think this is really cool. I'm excited about it, and you'll see as part of this presentation how this really applies, to what we're talking about. Go ahead to the next slide. A little bit about our services. We have a good breadth of services, and these services really are a piece of building a new technology infrastructure. So we have our network and security, which is traditional stuff, where we're really helping our clients develop technology roadmaps, execute projects, and fitting into our mission statement, really help transform their business and be more productive. We do have a professional services division. It's actually headed up by a wonderful employee of ours and very longstanding, Ken Jones, that focuses on construction-related ERP, primarily for the construction services market, a very fast-growing part of our business. And we have our wireless technologies group, which I actually have led for the past probably 15 years. And it's very applicable to what we're going to be talking about today. That's why I'm excited about it. So, a lot of people have heard about these broadband funds. The first thing I'm going to say is it's very, very real. And our government really came to the realization that a connect anywhere reliably is really important to the growth of our society and the benefits to our society and all the things that come with that. We're looking at around 17 billion just for broadband funding alone. There's a lot of other money that's related to other infrastructure. There's a big piece for modernizing our utility grid. But the 17 billion is just allocated for all intents and purposes to broadband. It's focused around the ability to learn and work from home and really anywhere. There's a lot of additional cost savings, which I have in the next bullet slide, which people really they don't grasp, or they don't really think about it, in the fact that, especially if we look at an educational environment, we look at a government environment, the cost to operate facilities and buses and heating and air conditioning and maintenance and everything, there's a cost savings there by shifting to some sort of remote type of work or learning. We all know that 100% remote is not 100% good, and it may not be the most beneficial, but we know that some combination of remote work with on-site work or learning is in our future. I think a lot of people thought that 6 months into COVID that we would be back to normal, and normal being what we knew before. The reality is normal is something we didn't have before, and it's some type of more combination of what we didn't know before and what we know now, and where we're going to head in the future. We look at municipalities. I think I don't know the whole attendees list here, but municipalities in winter weather, we really think about it. The elimination of snow days. To never have a snow day again, and all the commotion a snow day causes, and everybody's sitting waiting for the TV. Do I have school? Don't I have school? The weatherman forecasting 2 feet of snow and then it's zero. So there's a huge benefit when we look at it and say, well, if we think it's going to be snow 2 weeks from now, we just plan that that's going to be a remote work or a remote classroom day. And it's scheduled, and there's a huge efficiency around that. But the problem is that means we have to have good connectivity pretty much everywhere, in people's homes and people's remote offices or in libraries, things where people don't really have to commute to wherever they're going to work or learn. And it's a lot of money. I mean, I actually have a good friend that was in the school busing, and snow days and school busing is just a mess. So we also have this new, as part of the broadband funding, the 17 billion. There's a new federal, it's called EBB, monthly connectivity subsidy, and that really, for all intents and purposes, looks like it's going to be around forever. So where there's areas of rural or urban that aren't really served well today from a broadband perspective, the federal government is going to offer a monthly per subscriber compensation subsidy to help operate these networks. So we're really looking at 17 billion as a capex type number to provide this new infrastructure. But we're also looking we're looking at an operating expenditure subsidy to basically help to keep these things actually going. And I have a good friend in DC. It really looks like this may be around forever. So that's a wonderful thing. It targets $50 a month per user and $100 one-time equipment subsidy. And that equipment subsidy is not for the initial capex of broadband infrastructure, but it's more targeted towards a tablet or something that the remote student would use to be able to access the network. And the last bullet point here is really something I've been trying to drive for a very long time. Being in the wireless industry, we look at what we have today, and we have all these multiple different. Verizon as a network, and Comcast as a network, and this guy has a network, and we have all these things on poles, and everybody rides in their own bus lane. When we build our traditional infrastructure, be it roads, be it sewer systems, be it water systems, we built one system to handle everything. So we don't have all these multiple systems. And now we're looking at it holistically, saying if we were going to do something right from a broadband and connectivity perspective, we really need to wrap it all together and look at smart city, because we now have the technology to be able to do all these things in one single infrastructure, like we have a road infrastructure that handles Fords and Chevys and buses and motorcycles and bicycles and everything else. It's just much more efficient. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So what are the eligible communities and uses for these funds? In the middle of the picture, we have rural, and there's been rural subsidies based upon RUS money for a very long time for broadband. The problem, and I'm going to skip the first one, the problem with that being is that it's really been focused around what the RUS qualifies as a rural area. And when we look at our home county of York, Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania has a lot of rural areas. So does a lot of Pennsylvania and Maryland and New York and New Jersey. The problem is that most of those areas aren't considered rural by the RUS. So they've been void of funding in the past. That changes here. Okay, so we're looking at anything that benefits rural, provides broadband to rural communities. That's in play here for funding. The other new piece here is really urban. Low income urban areas have been passed over for a very long time. We've had different, broadband type subsidies that have been offered for people to provide these communities with affordable broadband. But when we peel back the onion, I have a project in here that's that we're working on in Arlington, Virginia. And Arlington is urban. And it's amazing that, on one side of the low income urban, there's phenomenal broadband. On the other side of low income urban, there's phenomenal broadband. But literally, the whole low income urban section track was bypassed. So the federal government is saying, listen, we understand we need to get good broadband to basically, I don't like to say, bridge the digital divide. It literally is to level the playing field. Okay, so that everybody has the same level of connectivity and speeds so they can do remote work and remote learning, and somebody that can afford more, typically from a broadband perspective, has an edge over somebody else. So they're really looking to level the playing field. There's a whole subset of money just for libraries and nonprofits. So that's in play here as well, because libraries and nonprofits can be great places for people to come and get connectivity, to learn, to work. They already have the facilities to handle a certain number of people coming in. So if we look at, I think it really comes into play in rural a lot. So rural is hard to cover. It's hard to get broadband everywhere, but there's libraries and nonprofit in every rural section of the United States. And they're great gathering places and a great place to build some new technology to enable all these new initiatives. Go ahead to the next slide. And then we have education. There's a subset of money for schools and universities to expand remote learning programs. One of the projects I'm gonna spotlight today is spearheaded by the Board of Education. So it's spearheaded by the Board of Education, but it's targeting low-income urban. And I'll explain how that works. So schools and universities are going to be a big part of this initiative, and a lot of the money is going to be spent by those organizations for those organizations. And then another one, the last one that we really have is tribal communities. We really don't have any really in the Northeast region. It's mainly out west, but that's 17 billion. Those are your 5 buckets. And what's really, really nice about this program is that old programs, they gave you money to go to the store, and you could buy bread and milk and eggs and chocolate and cleaning supplies and everything. This time, you spend money on bread and milk. There's $17 billion just for urban and rural. That's really what it comes down to level the playing field and get affordable, good broadband out to the people that need it. Next. The urban model focus. So really, I'm going to try to focus on urban and rural. Urban's been bypassed a lot. Urban has some benefits. Targeting urban has a lot more benefits than targeting rural for a couple of different areas. Urban broadband lays the groundwork for smart city. If we want to be blind to the fact that we will have autonomous vehicles, that we do need a better way to determine if trash needs to be picked up, that we need more automation at street level for pedestrians and information and things like that, we're kidding ourselves. Urban broadband lays the groundwork for a true smart city. And smart city is the way of the future. It will be more efficient. It'll be able to manage traffic flows better, and all kinds of stuff. But the really cool thing about the urban model focus is that if you use this money to enhance broadband for low income urban, as a municipal government, especially, you have the ability to layer on all kinds of additional things that a lot of cities have wanted to do for a long time. Security cameras anywhere in the city or anywhere this technology is, and all autonomous vehicles and all kinds of things. So there's a huge benefit to spending this money and focusing on urban. Without technology infrastructures, cities will not be competitive for talent and jobs. We as big are based in central Pennsylvania. We're based in New York County. We are seeing it now from a competitive perspective because remote work and remote learning has been wonderful, but as a technology company, there's a downside to it. Now we have people globally that are advertising saying, I need this position, I need that position. And this is what my city has to offer you. And you don't have, you can work for a company that's based in Chicago and you can live in Texas. And that's a real thing. I mean, we're seeing that competitiveness come through because there we've as regions like central Pennsylvania and big parts of Maryland and New Jersey and New York, outside the major metros, we've been afforded this lower cost of living. And now companies that are located in bigger cities that have been paying higher wages because they needed local workers are poaching the lower the people that have the knowledge and the good workers from the lower cost of living areas. I mean, it's a real thing. So creating a technology advantage, competitive advantage in a city that is somewhere located not in inner city is a huge incentive. And technology is going to be a way to do that. The federal government's going to be providing this money. They're going to be giving out free money, okay, for qualified programs like this. And there are more urban qualifying areas in the United States than rural. Almost every city in the United States has some qualified low income track based upon census data in their city. I'm very familiar with a lot of the cities in Pennsylvania and Maryland. I mean, if we look at Baltimore, if we look at York, we look at Reading, we look at Allentown, we look at Newark, Delaware. I mean, you name them, they all have what's categorized as low income tracts. So there's a much greater need and to service these areas and a much greater opportunity. Urban has a much quicker payback than rural. One of the first projects that we did as a company was in Maryland, and it was for the Sailor Library System. It was over almost 20 years ago. And that was to connect all the libraries to the entire eastern shore of Maryland and back into Baltimore, because really there was no good connectivity. And it took a long time. Where when we look at urban, the payback can be much quicker because you're dealing with a much larger subset of potential users and other applications. And the generation after millennials is relocating to urban en masse. They really are. I mean, they enjoy a more downtown environment. So and when I say downtown, it doesn't mean necessarily downtown Philadelphia or downtown New York. I mean, it could be downtown Lancaster, it could be downtown York, it could be downtown anywhere. They're looking for cities, smaller type cities that have the same technology advantage as, say, a Pittsburgh that's got Carnegie Mellon there. So it's a way to attract, younger people, which basically, revitalizes, the urban environment. Go ahead, next slide. So when we look at broadband technology, I mean, everybody used to look at fiber. Fiber has its place, okay? But the reality is we are a mobile society. I can't tell you the last time I've talked to anybody that plugged their computer into their laptop into some socket. Everybody's on their phones. Verizon stopped doing FiOS, their fiber to the home, almost 2 years ago now. And we are a mobile society, and technology has increased so much as far as capability and speed in mobile wireless technologies that's really, where we see the growth and where we see and how these play together. And we really look at four different types of technology. We have what I call LoRaWAN, which a lot of people are not familiar with. And LoRaWAN really is the basis for the Internet of Things. Over the next, 2, 3, 5 years, we're going to see a huge explosion of connected devices. And that could be, things like, things that are sensing humidity, proximity sensors that figure out how close we are to each other. We already have it in our homes with Alexa controlled, smart homes and your oven and your refrigerator and everything else like that. It has a very long range with a very small amount of bandwidth for not a lot of money. It's really for resource tracking, smart grid, sensor monitoring, things like that. Then we go to Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is another. It is a broadband technology, and it really does a good job at tracking biometrics and telehealth stuff and proximity with really, really low cost sensors. I was researching a new company yesterday that has developed battery-less Bluetooth tags. No more batteries. I don't know that much about them yet, but that's it. That kind of tells you where we're headed when we come out with, tracking type little tags that never require a battery and can basically stick on anything. CBRS is kind of a new term, but all it is really a rebranding of an existing wireless technology. It is kind of like your own private cell phone network and data network for the masses. It stands for Citizens Band Radio System. It was created and adopted by our federal government, the FCC, to basically take a section of wireless spectrum and allocate it to the masses, cities, education, utilities, anybody that wants to use it in a very coordinated fashion. So it's very, very efficient. And then we have Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi was left for dead 10 years ago. And Wi-Fi 6 is kind of a game changer. The FCC just allocated a lot more wireless spectrum to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is here to stay. It is the preferred method of indoor connectivity. And with what the FCC just did, they literally tripled the amount of space that's allocated to Wi-Fi. So a lot of really cool things happening in the Wi-Fi. Go ahead. Next line. So I'm going to go into some urban cases here, and these are real cases, and they, even though they are focused on urban, the same technologies and overview can be applied to the rural side of it. And when I say rural, I mean we have a lot of small rural towns that aren't considered urban, places that have, population density of 4,000, 5,000, maybe up to 10,000. The same cases here really can apply, but these are kind of considered urban areas. So go ahead and click the next slide. Arlington County, Virginia. They have a community. It's called Gates of Boston, and it is low income housing. It's really, really cool looking low income housing. Very architecturally old, slate roofs. Really, really nice. Really, really nice place. And it is literally located in downtown area. They were looking for a way to provide these residents, low income, actually free broadband, but enable, connectivity. Because the other thing that fiber really never addressed is that one is we are a mobile society. Two is that with COVID, we now find ourselves as a society maybe not venturing outside of our community that much, but we are venturing outside. So we want to be able to be on a web conference call, web video call, remote learning session, as we're leaving and going to the community park that's located in the middle of our community without losing connectivity. We want to be able to sit outside as the temperature rises in April and May in the Northeast and enjoy the sunshine, but still enjoy the same connectivity that we would if we were inside our house. This is kind of the benefits of what these guys are doing here with CBRS. They're covering this entire community. It's about 500 residents that live in this community, providing free internet, indoors and outdoors for these. It is a CBRS technology. There's about 13 CBRS radios in here. The overall capital budget for this was $436,000, a cost per unit of CapEx of about $1,000 a unit. Capital rescue fundable 100%. And when we look back, and I talked about that EBB operating funding at $50 a month per user, that's an operating subsidy of $240,000. So we really see this type of a project. One is if it's funded by rescue funds from a CapEx perspective, and it's receiving 240 in eligible EBB subsidies to operate this thing. It's self-sustainable. So it's, they don't have to dip into other county operating budget money. So if somebody was going to provide the CapEx that the rescue funds is, and then you have this other ability to tap the subsidy, which is the EBB, it's crazy not to do projects like this. And this time, when we really look at the 17 billion, prior to this, we really were kind of shooting things with a BB gun. There was a little money here, a little money there that came and everything else. 17 billion is a lot of money. And when it's specifically targeted towards these types of programs. Go ahead, next one. The next one is Bridgeport School Systems. The the Board of Education took it upon themselves and said, listen, we're going to take on this initiative. You can see in the picture here, we have a school. It's called Columbus Elementary. For those of you that don't know Bridgeport, Bridgeport is, it's in Connecticut, very close to New York City. People drive there, take the train there into New York City, but they have a very large low income urban population. And they decided that they were going to go ahead and extend internet coverage from their schools. This is one of two that they're doing right now from their schools with a fiber-like wireless connection, high speed, over to these high-rise communities, and then redistribute Wi-Fi indoors. This one has about the same capital budget as the one in Arlington, about 3 times the number of residents. But the cost per unit, because there's multiple residents in the unit, comes to about $1,750. Rescue fundable 100%, and EBB operating funding of about 162,000 annually. So again, a very good overview of another player. This time it's Board of Education, with a project that is really not that expensive from a capital budget perspective, and with 162,000 EBB annual subsidy, very self-sustaining. Go ahead. Next slide. City of Trenton. This is one of 2 projects that the initiatives that they have in the works right now, and the mayor of Trenton wants to do the entire city. In this case, they really want to provide free internet access for their downtown visitors, so that they can attract people downtown. They have a separate project that's targeted towards low income, but this area also has, because there's people that work in this area down here, it's considered providing broadband for the residents. They're delivering extended internet from a city building. Actually, it's one of the buildings in there. It's a city parking garage. And then Wi-Fi down at the pole level. Wi-Fi at the pole level, street pole level, they own the light poles there, is a great way to connect with users. It's actually one of the best ways, because the height of the street light poles are optimum height to deliver Wi-Fi in an outdoor environment. The cost per unit's really not applicable here, because there's an ebb and flow of people that come downtown and work downtown. Capital rescue fundable 100%. In this case, there's no EBB operating funding, because there's really no permanent subscribers or users of the network. But again, when we look at having the capital funding, it's the city doesn't have to dip into their capital budget to be able to do this. And these 3 models, the 3 models that I went over, they can be duplicated. I would be hard pressed to find any city, be it small or large, in the United States, that these can't be duplicated. It uses very common infrastructure, common assets, common right-of-ways, and the technology isn't specific to a certain area. It's one of the reasons why I really like CBRS, because CBRS is available. CBRS and Wi-Fi are available anywhere in the United States. You don't need a license to use them. And it really enables to put kind of almost a cookie cutter model together. And really the only variables you have there, what is the cost per unit? What's the EBB funding? Things like that. So these 3 projects really kind of give you an overview of what something would cost and what the subsidy would be. And I hope I explained them well enough to the group. And I think guys, I think this is my last slide, so I'd open it up to any questions if anybody has any. Oh, go ahead. Do I have more? Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, so when we look at the models that I provided, there's some different organizations out there. Project Overcome, it's headed by US Ignite, and their mission is really to help bring, before this rescue funding, their mission was to help bring this type of technology and this type of broadband to places around the United States. And every year they offer grants, and they sponsor a program where people put together their ideas on how they're going to spend this money. And when we look at this map here, we have some of these. We have Blue River, Oregon. Obviously, Blue River, Oregon is is rural. Okay. Clinton County, Missouri. If you've ever been to Missouri, it's rural. We do have Yonkers in here. We have Cleveland, Ohio, but these types of projects have been going on well before the rescue funding. But US Ignite is getting more involved in helping spread the message that these models work. Go ahead, next slide. So we have the winners, the latest winners, and when we look at them, I didn't put them in any specific order, but you heard me mention CBRS, and so we're presenting this presentation and webinar to you today, but this is a whole subset of other people that have funded these networks and grants, and you'll see the message being repeated over and over again. Yonkers, New York. Yonkers is it's on the skirts of New York City, but they're going to deploy CBRS. Okay, the project is to deploy CBRS, and it's going to be used for municipalities, nonprofits, for-profit, and underserved neighborhoods. Great way to showcase the technology. Blue River, Oregon. I've been to Oregon. Most Oregon is rural, and they're using CBRS to basically deploy broadband on rural highways in a forested area. Okay, so extremely rural. I mean, we're on a total extreme of urban, but the same type of technology. Go ahead, next slide. Luisa, Puerto Rico. Here they're using the library system, okay, to install broadband and mesh networks. Mesh is Wi-Fi. So when we really look at CBRS and Wi-Fi, we will see that the message repeats itself and the projects can be duplicated really anywhere in the United States, including Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, as you know, was devastated by natural disaster, hurricanes, and they're using the same type of technology to increase digital literacy and health programming for community members. All these projects definitely rescue fundable, 100%. Then we have Buffalo, New York. I won't keep reading it, but the same model, same type of infrastructure. No matter whether you're urban or whether you're rural. Go ahead, next slide. So really, we have the following takeaways. The money, I was really hoping that our federal government would be as typically slow as they typically are in doing things. But it really looks like the money is going to start flowing to the states, which then again starts flowing down to the counties and the cities sometime end of May. I was hoping it would be a little bit delayed so people could start to do number one, develop a plan. If you're targeting to get some of this money and approach your state representatives and county representatives, with something that you want to do, developing a plan now, you have to start, because this money is going to go first to shovel-ready ideas and projects, okay? Things that have a very quick payback. Remember, the carriers and the cable operators have left areas of your jurisdiction behind on purpose, okay? It wasn't going to make them money. And now, we will see people trying to take advantage of this money, but we think it's best used by municipalities and education to build their own infrastructure to support the long-term growth of the actual communities and not private companies. Act now. Again, we're coming up on the end of April, and if this money really starts flowing by the end of May, there's really not a lot of time for it to happen. Apply for the funding. Start hitting up because the funding is going to work in two ways. 50% of the available money is going to hit this year in the next May, June, July time. It's 50%. Then the remaining 50% of the 17 billion is going to happen over 36 months. So we're not looking at a one-time hit here. It actually is, we're looking at 50%, and I don't know how the math's going to work out, whether it's going to be 25%, in 24 months and another 25% in 36 months. But the time to act is now. I was informed last week that every state representative, I think, has 10 or 11 given earmarks for the money. Okay. So I don't know if that's true or not. My conversations led me to believe it is true. So they're going to be looking for shovel-ready projects that they can immediately start funneling this money to. And you need to have a focus on remote learning and remote work. That's what this money is for. That's what's going to get people's attention when you apply for the funding, is showing them that it really is for remote learning and remote. And really, when you're thinking about these things, you need to think about it on the long term, because if you're going to apply for funding, you really want to deploy a technology that not only satisfies this remote work, remote learning thing, but lays the groundwork for a smart city, smart community. Basically, making city services more efficient, planning for autonomous vehicles, planning for smart trash cans, smart signs, traffic control, security cameras, because we really do have the technical ability now to have one infrastructure that solves the near-term need of better remote work, remote learning, with the advanced technology for the future of the next 3, 5, 10 years for advanced services. So hopefully this was informative. If there are any questions, I don't know what the format is, for any Q&A, but I'd be happy to answer it.
Thank you, John. That was very informative. Like John said, does anyone have any questions?
There is a comment in the chat from Chris. John, he says, your assertion that EBB will continue indefinitely is unrealistic and would be fully for an unelected official not to have the budget to support the program when EBB ends or is reduced. I don't know if you have the chat open to make it easier for you to read it.
Where is my challenge? Well, I can address that. I mean, that from everything that I have heard and conversations that I've had, whether you call it EBB or not, the general consensus is there will be a subsidy to make sure these type of services are available to everybody for a long time. And we've had other programs for these. I'm really not based on my opinion. That's really the general consensus from talking with everybody, that they really feel that the EBB or some type of subsidy to make sure these programs continue indefinitely happens. I mean, whether it does or whether it doesn't, it would be a good thing. And we have had other, I mean, I've had not just conversations, but I've been part of rural initiatives for a very long time. The RUS funding has been around to operate those things for infinitum. So really the general consensus is that, an EBB really is more targeted towards urban. And I do agree. I think we will see a program like RUS, okay, or some type of funding that makes sure, because we've had it for rural forever. I mean, there's been a rural subsidy to operate these programs for a very long time. So like I said, it's not my opinion, but that's generally what the consensus is, that we will see some kind of operating subsidy for a long time. And a lot of people are saying indefinite.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, John, again, thank you. And thank you to everyone that joined the webinar. And we do have a follow-up webinar. Maura, I don't have the date off the top of my head. Not sure if you do either. I'm sorry.
May 19th.
Okay. So hopefully we will see you there. If you have any questions or concerns from the webinar today, please feel free to reach out at any time. And other than that, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.